We go. What a day, what a day. It is one phenomenal guest after another on this podcast marathon. And today in studio, I have none other than Kelley Falardeau. Kelley, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Welcome to... Oh, hang on. Hang on. Oh, that didn't work at all. Let's try again. Welcome to...
Oh
well, it was fun in my head. So let's start this train wreck off. Kelley, thanks so much for being here again. I've heard you on stage. You are a spectacular speaker, and anybody out there who's looking for an inspirational, fantastic speaker, Kelley Falardeau is the one to get. Great. My kid's coming home, ignoring the sign out there. And oh man, total train wreck.
Good.
Let's just power through.
It's all good. We're going to do amazing no matter what.
No, that's exactly it. So Kelley, there is a documentary about you. Tell me how that came to be.
There is. So this documentary, basically, I went to a broadcaster and said that I wanted to, or that I was writing a book. And so I had a book proposal called Still Beautiful. And basically this proposal was all about my life story, about getting burnt as a 2-year-old, growing up through school, being teased and bullied and shunned, getting a job and getting married, having kids, and then divorce. They even featured my divorce in there too. And, becoming a speaker and becoming a best-selling author and, getting up on stage in front of 3,000 teenagers and teaching them how to love themselves, even though they aren't perfect.
Now, there was some sort of mechanism where you gave your story to somebody and they turned it into something. What's that called?
Into the documentary. It was a book proposal, and that I gave to the broadcaster, the book proposal. And then the broadcaster decided that, yes, they wanted to take on the project. And so then they found they found a producer to work with. And then the producer wrote the story, and they researched me and my story and my life, and they even came with me down to San Francisco where I did a talk, and they followed me there and filmed me and all that sort of stuff.
So what's it like to be a rock star, all that celebrity and all that attention?
Oh, I don't know. It's funny because I don't really feel it, I guess. Some people think I'm this big celebrity, and I'm really not. I'm still just Kelley.
Is the phone ringing for speaking gigs on a regular basis?
Yes. So, especially now that I've done a TEDx talk. Well, actually, I've done 2. So, people love that I've, done a TEDx talk. They love, too, that my life story was also put on Goalcast. They did like a 4.5 minute version of my story. And that had like 9.5 million views.
That's incredible.
It is.
Goalcast was actually what I was fishing for before I could remember the name of it. So tell me, how did Goalcast happen?
Well, how that happened is a friend of mine was on Goalcast. They did a story about her. And so I approached her. I said, oh my God, that's on my bucket list. I want to be, featured on Goalcast. And she said, well, here, I'll introduce you. And she did. And then what you do is you submit a video of yourself speaking. And then what they do is create the whole story around it. And so they took a component of my documentary and they created a whole nother story out of it that I never even thought of. And so they put it on Facebook, and within 6 hours, we had 1 million views.
Holy smokes.
I know, it was just incredible. My daughter and I were watching the views going up and the comments, and yeah, it was pretty cool.
And right from that Goalcast, you must have got speaking gigs just directly off of that.
I did. I've gotten one so far, and that one took me down to Kentucky where I've never spoken before, and I got my highest speaking fee ever.
Did you learn to play the banjo while you're down there?
No, but, I did realize that, when you get off the airport, into the airport in Kentucky. On the right-hand side, you're going to see a Kentucky Fried Chicken, and on the left side, you're going to see a big giant bottle of Kentucky bourbon whiskey. That's pretty funny.
So you are doing some coaching, are you not?
I am.
Tell me about that.
So what was happening is over the past few years, the two questions people were asking me is, how do I become a best-selling author? And how do I get started as a speaker? And so I decided to develop coaching programs around that. And in fact, we're even doing a cruise at the end of March to beginning of April. And on this cruise, you're actually going to write a book. You're going to write and get it published and learn how to market it too. So I'm really excited about that.
What advice do you have to somebody who says, I've always wanted to write a book, but I've just never got around to it? I hear that all the time. What advice do you have for them?
Well, get started.
Get started.
Get started. Well, that's the thing. A lot of people think that writing a book is very overwhelming. And so one of the things that I did is I actually took one of my Facebook Live videos that was 20 minutes long, and I had a girl transcribe it. And then I got another girl to do a cover for it. And then I put the two together and uploaded it to Amazon. And now I have my sixth book, which is called The 5 Different Types of Men on the Dating Sites and How to Spot Them. And it was all from one Facebook Live video. I was able to create this little book.
And where are your books selling? Where can people get their mitts on them?
They can get them on Amazon, or they can go to my website, which is kelleyfalardeau.com. And my books are all listed there, and even my Still Beautiful book, which is my documentary. There's actually a visual transcript of my documentary in that book.
So let's go into your story, Kelley.
Okay.
How did all this begin, you wild celebrity girl, you?
Well, when I was 2 years old, we lived on a farm, and my cousins were throwing shingles in the fire, and a spark came out and landed on my dress. And I ended up with burns to 75% of my body. So I spent 4 months in the hospital. And then every 2 years, I'd have to go back into the hospital, and I'd spend a month of my summer holidays in the hospital having more reconstructive surgery. And then in the past 5 years, I've been getting laser surgeries to correct some of the scarring that's on me.
And then?
And then what?
Well, that's the genesis of your story. That's how it all started.
Right.
And then how did you get into the speaking bit? Like how did that happen? What was the genesis?
Well, what happened there was actually me becoming a speaker actually happened when I was 14 years old. And we had horses, and so I was in the 4-H club. And you have to do a speech, and you have to compete.
Okay.
And so
that's actually pretty competitive too, the 4-H speaking award.
It is. And so I actually did my speech and won. My very first speech, it was a 5-minute speech, and I won it. And then that was my very first taste of speaking. And then when I was 21, I became president of the Alberta Burn Rehab Society, and I had to do a little bit more speaking there. And then I met Charmaine Hammond 10 years ago, and I had a different business at the time. And she said, you know what, you need to sell that business and be a speaker. And I said, why? My Spurns Fiver, so what? And she's like, no, people will be so inspired by your story. Be a speaker. And so she lined up an event so that her and I would have to speak at it. And that was my start.
And is that what you've wanted to do?
Sorry.
Oh, that's all right.
Just getting over this cold.
Good times.
I know.
So how can somebody get a hold of you to book a speaking appointment, a speaking engagement?
Sorry. Oh my gosh.
Too bad we do not have post-production at the Monkey Show podcast.
I know.
We are live, raw, and uncut. We push through like a runaway train.
And I even took some medicine before I did this. Okay.
For those of you that are thinking about writing a book yourself, Kelley now has 6 books and has done really well with them. I have published 2, and I always get told or get asked, how do you get started? Well, you get started by starting. You don't overthink it. People get stuck with analysis paralysis. Just start writing a little bit every day, bit by bit, and it will grow. And then after that, if you are not the best writer in the world, that's fine. You don't need to be the best writer in the world, but get started, get writing, and for the love of God, have an editor. If you show me your self-published book and I start reading, I'll know within about 15 seconds if I'm going to be able to finish that book or not. Because 9 times out of 10, they have not been properly edited. And the better you are at writing, the less editing you need. But it doesn't matter how good you are or how good you think you are, you still need a professional editor, not a proofreader, not somebody who has their degree in English, but an actual professional proofreader and editor. And that is the only way to go forward. If you don't do that, it is the book that you write that is unreadable doesn't help anybody. The reason that we write books is to share a story, and you can't share it if nobody's reading it. Kelley, what has been your experience with editing? The first time with an editor, did it beat you up a little bit?
Well, the biggest thing is we get so attached to our words,
Yes.
and we don't really want them changed because we think this is the right way. But that's the big thing, is just don't stay attached to your words. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll have my full book, but then
bring the microphone just a little bit closer to you there.
I'll have my book, but then what I'll do is I'll have different versions of it. So sometimes there's like an art, like a chapter that I absolutely love that I don't want changed. I'll have that content and I'll put it somewhere else so that I might use it for something different. But I always trust what my editors are saying because they're the experts in the grammar. So, and they know how to make it flow better, which is awesome too.
So tell me, what are the 6 books that you've written?
So the first one is No Risk, No Rewards, which is my memoir. So that is more about how I got burnt, what happened to me, and then how I transformed through that. That's actually my book before my divorce too.
Okay.
So that's a whole different aspect afterwards, right? My second book is called Selfesteem Doesn't Come in a Bottle, and that's my first best-selling book. And in that book, that's my how-to book. So that's my book where I teach you how I developed great self-esteem, how I got confident, what did I do, what are my steps, and that I follow on a daily basis.
That's amazingly valuable. I think the one thing that most people suffer from is absence of proper self-esteem.
Absolutely. And, you and I both have kids.
We do.
And so, we both know some of the struggles that our kids are facing with social media these days. And they beat themselves up over some of the silliest things. And so it's important for kids to have strong self-esteem so they can stand up to, the constant bombardment of negativity on social media.
Absolutely. And the book after that?
The book after that is called 1,000 Tips for Teenagers. And in that book, I had 120 authors each write tips for teenagers.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
That's quite the collaboration.
It was an amazing collaboration. Yeah.
Okay. And are we at 6 yet?
No.
I think that was book number 4.
What's number 4? Number 4 is 7 Ways to Love the Real You.
Okay.
Okay. Number 5 is Still Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And then number 6 is the dating book. So 5 different types of men on the dating sites and how to spot them.
How's the response been to that last one? That's really something.
Well, it's funny because a lot of my girlfriends are saying, oh my gosh, I need to buy that book for my friends. But I haven't actually officially launched it yet.
Oh, okay. So it's just ready to go.
It is. It's just ready to go. So I haven't launched it yet. I'm still working to figure out how I want to launch it. I've already done the bestseller route like 5 times. So I'm not sure I really need to make it a bestseller. But, people are saying, oh my God, this is a book that I want, or I want to give to somebody I know that's in the dating world.
Well, making something a bestseller the first time is the most difficult. After that, you have an established name, you have a fan base. So each subsequent book must be a little bit easier. But at the same time, you must have a formula to make it a bestseller.
Well, and the bestseller strategy has changed over the years. So that's the other thing. It's all about staying up with the times and what is the best way to do it. So the way I do it now and the way I did it in the beginning is not the same way at all.
And what's the big change has been is just how Amazon is set, or is Amazon the core of your strategies?
Right. So it's an Amazon bestseller. So the whole premise of becoming a best-selling author is that you need to get into the top 100 of your category.
Right.
So you want to get as many people to buy your books at a certain time period so you can get into the top 100, right?
Now, can you do that after a book's been out and published for a couple of years? Can you like relaunch a book and still
Sure.
get it successful?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just getting it all together, right? It's getting a team together that are going to help you promote the book. It's I now what I do differently than most people is I get people to pre-order the book so that I have the cash in the hand. So I have their emails. And then I get a team together and we put the orders into Amazon.
Okay. And how many books has a person got to sell to even have a hope and heck of getting to the top of your category?
Well, you know what? It all depends on the category.
Right.
So it's really hard to say what is a number. It's not a number. It just depends, right? Like in my one category that I was in with Still Beautiful, it was about disabilities. And because of me being a burn survivor and some of the people that are in the book, I went into that category. And the other thing was too, in the beginning, you were only allowed to be in 2 categories. Now you can be in up to 10. So you have an even better chance.
Well, that's new. That definitely wasn't the case when I published either of mine.
Right. So that's new. So, and it's not visible, right? Like you can put yourself in the 2, but then when you want the other 8, you have to get in touch with Amazon and say, okay, I want to be in 8 more categories.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's lots of tips and tricks.
Mm-hmm.
Kelley, is there, before we sign off, anything else you want to share?
Well, you know what? One of the things I'd love to share is that, dreams are meant to be found, not tucked away in dreamland. And that's a quote that I came up with when I wrote my first book. And it's just so true that so many times we have a dream to be an author or to get our story out there or to be a speaker. And a lot of times we're like, oh no, I'll do it later, or I'll get around to it, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not smart enough, or nobody wants to listen to me, or nobody needs my message, or I don't even know who's going to listen to me. The thing is, there's going to be someone who needs to hear your story.
And it's a big world out there.
It's a huge world out there. And if you don't do it, you're being selfish because you're going to be somebody that you can help. So, I highly recommend people get in touch with me and I can help coach them through the process and make them understand that it's not as hard as it looks.
And again, if you want to write a book, you can join Kelley for the book cruise. Tell me the name of that and when that's happening again.
Yeah, that's going to be March 29th to April 5th.
March 29th to April 5th.
Yeah, it's going to be a Western Caribbean cruise.
Whew.
So yeah, and we're going to be, the whole intent and purpose is that you're going to come out with a finished book. So come with your ideas, ready to write, and we're going to be writing. We've got an editor that's going to be on board. We got somebody that's going to teach about marketing, someone who's going to be teaching about media, and me and my partner, Carrie, we're going to be there teaching you how to write your book and get it done and out.
And how can somebody sign up for this?
So go to my website at kelleyfalardeau.com, and all the details will be there.
And spell Falardeau for us.
F as in Frank, ALARD as in dog, EAU.com.
KelleyFalardeau.com. Kelley, thank you so much for being here today on this train wreck of a podcast.
I know. I'm so sorry for all the coughing. Oh, my goodness.
No, it's not you. It's my dog clapping and my kids coming home. But that's what gives it the charm. It's without the post-production and all that. It's real, raw, authentic, and that's just life.
Exactly, and that's what we like to be.
Yeah, that's right. It's the real deal sitting here at the kitchen table. For any of the viewers, the blanket is out because I had my previous podcast, which is Operation Tango Romeo, which is a trauma recovery podcast. And this is a Quilt of Valor that was awarded to me a couple of years ago. Some wonderful people put the stitches of love into this and made it by hand. And those few veterans that are lucky enough to get their hands on one, it's quite the honor. And that's what's on our table here. It's also functional. It helps absorb the echo fairly well.
My grandma was a quilter, so I totally appreciate, hand quilting. It's awesome.
Kelley Falardeau, thank you so much for being here.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Oh my God, I can't believe that.
Sorry! Wouldn't stop. She's just like, play with me.
Pardon me, what?
Because they let the dog. I normally have the dog in the crate for these. And
Oh.
she's coming up to you going, play with me. Throw my toy. Throw my toy.
I know.
It's ridiculous.
Pay attention.